Chapter 1592, Time to reel in the net. After speaking, Hu Jianfei could no longer hold back. He hurriedly rushed toward Lu Zixi. Lu Zixi wore a smug grin. Another victim just delivered himself to her doorstep to boost her cultivation. How could she possibly turn him away? These idiots of the Miracle Healer Academy come to me willingly. It will be a waste if I don't take advantage of these nourishments. Haha. As long as my strength improves, I will trample Shiyu and Lu Shuyang under my feet. The room became steamy once again. No one noticed that outside the window, a person was coldly looking at the dirty and corrupt scene inside. Those eyes seemed to be a bottomless abyss. Through absorbing the strength of others, she has reached the middle stage of the gold core stage. Caillou clenched his hands slowly, but a cold and mocking smile surfaced. Lu Zixi, you have no idea that your demise is approaching, do you? When He came out of the library, she saw Nangong Yu waiting outside with a smile. Willow swaying gently, a soft breeze blowing. The man standing beneath the willow trees was a sight to behold, as picturesque as a painting or poetic verse. He's mood became indescribably soft and peaceful. She remembered back in college when she was on assignments, she often saw boyfriends waiting outside the library for their girlfriends. The two would then stroll hand in hand by the river, a scene both romantic and sweet. But at that time, she never thought that such simple sweetness would belong to her one day. He stepped forward quickly and took Nangong Yu's hand. Suddenly, she turned her eyes and saw the back of a man leaving, which seemed familiar. That person seems to be Caillou. I heard that after he came out of Spirit Extinct Valley, he chose to stay with Lu Zixi again. It seemed like he was talking to Nangong Yu just now. He raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "Was that Caillou just now? What did he want with you?" Nangong Yu chuckled. "To be precise, he came to look for you, but I intercepted him." He rolled his eyes at her man. This guy is shameless for saying such a thing. Lately, Nangong Yu didn't go back to Jinling Kingdom to prepare the wedding banquet. Instead, he stuck to her side nonstop. Anyone from the Miracle Healer Academy trying to approach her was shooed away, all under the guise of protecting her safety. He's jealous. He was annoyed and amused, and then a hint of doubt crept into her mind. She always felt that Nangong Yu was being secretive lately, unsure of what he was up to. Along with that, the Huang Medical Branch people were also acting mysteriously. It was as if everyone was in on something, and she was the only one out. However, He never took the initiative to ask. If Nangong Yu wasn't sharing, he had his reasons. She would find out when the time was right. What does Caillou want from me? A cold light flashed across Nangong Yu's eyes. He said in a deep voice, "It's nothing. Just that the net I cast out, it's time to reel it in." Lu Zixi woke up suddenly from her sleep and sat up sweating profusely. Her face was full of horror. She looked around and realized she was in her room. Off to the side, several disheveled men were scattered about. "Oh, I'm not in a prison cell. There are no torture devices on me. Luckily, it's just a dream." Those men were students from the Miracle Healer Academy. They had spent intimate moments with Lu Zixi last night. Some of them were so drained that they were unrecognizable, clearly beyond help. Lu Zixi sneered dismissively. With a single pat on the bed, the two men, drained of their fundamental essence, fell off. Chapter 1593, The Arrest. The other men woke up and looked at Lu Zixi obsessively, longing for her. They were so spaced out that they didn't even notice that a few of the guys beside them had disappeared. Obviously, these people had lost their minds entirely because of Lu Zixi charm. Lu Zixi circulated the spiritual power in her body. "I have reached the peak of the gold core stage. I just need to absorb the fundamental essence of a few more individuals to progress to the nascent soul stage." There was a hideous smile on her face. All she needed now was time. "I just need more time, and I can take control of everyone in Miracle Healer Academy. Shiyu is a nobody. Even Nangong Yu will be my servant." At that thought, Lu Zixi embraced the man approaching her, preparing to absorb his fundamental essence. Suddenly, a loud rumble came from the barrier outside the courtyard. Immediately afterward, uniform footsteps stormed into the courtyard of the Heaven Dormitory. A chilling voice echoed from the shadows, "Lu Zixi, Hu Jianfei, Zhang Chongwen, the Dean's Disciplinary Department has ordered us to bring you in immediately to investigate the incident of framing Shiyu that day. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." That voice alerted everyone who was still immersed in pleasure in the room. Lu Zixi's face was filled with panic. She exclaimed, "They figured me out? How? How did they find out so soon? This can't be right." Hu Jianfei was already exhausted and thrown under the bed. Zhang Chongwen, whose name was mentioned, had a gaunt face. His cultivation was greatly diminished, but he still gazed at Lu Zixi obsessively and said, "Zixi, we will protect you." "That's right. We will protect you even if it takes our life." Looking at the obsession in these people's eyes, Lu Jishi didn't feel relieved at all but panicked even more. How can this bunch of weaklings protect me? I'm surrounded by nascent soul stage masters. Asshole. I will surely attain the nascent soul stage if I have more time. Then, I can break through the barrier of Miracle Healer Academy. Am I going to be captured just like that by Nangongyu? Lu Jishi recalled Nangongyu's ruthlessness. There was no hesitation when he killed Nangong Xin. Lu Jishi shook her head in panic, shouting, "No! No! I don't want to be taken away. Get out there and stop them. Do whatever it takes, just keep them away." The men bewitched by Lu Jishi didn't have the slightest fear or hesitation when they heard those words. They ran out without even putting on their clothes. Outside, the sounds of fighting and the screams of Lu Jishi's toy boys echoed. Lu Jishi hastily put on some clothes and escaped through the window beside her. "Lu Jishi is here." Lu Jishi had only taken a few steps when a stern shout echoed from behind her. She turned pale with fright, wanting to exert her spiritual power to escape. However, the courtyard was sealed, and she couldn't fly away. More and more footsteps rushed toward her. Lu Jishi was so frightened that she was trembling all over. "It's over. I can't escape. There's no way out of here." Suddenly, a cold hand grabbed her. A low and hoarse voice rang in her ears, "Follow me." Lu Jishi was startled. She immediately recognized the person, Caillou. Surprised and delighted, she grabbed Caillou's wrist as if holding the last straw of hope. "Caillou, save me, you must save me." Caillou threw a strange pill in his hand. As it fell to the ground, it exploded with a bang, emitting a dazzling white light. The pursuers were blinded, halting their movements. Seizing the moment, Caillou grabbed Lu Jishi, and they escaped together. Chapter 1594, Exploit in a remote and cold corner of Miracle Healer Academy. Lu Jishi looked disheveled. She hid tremblingly in the shadows, looking out occasionally like a startled bird. "Don't worry. We've temporarily escaped our pursuers. However, Iron Kirins are searching everywhere in Miracle Healer Academy. We won't be able to hide for long." Caillou's steady voice came from behind. Lu Jishi panicked, grabbed Caillou's hand, and said tremblingly, "Caillou, you must save me. You're the only one I can rely on now." Her face was pale with fright as she spoke, but her eyes shone brightly as if she had turned into a whirlpool that could suck people in. Caillou sneered from the bottom of his heart. "You're still trying to bewitch me at this time." However, he revealed a distressed and loyal expression. "Jishi, don't worry. I will protect you." Lu Jishi didn't suspect Caillou because she was used to the toy boys obeying her. The lower their cultivation level and the more intimate encounters they had with her, the harder it was for them to escape her control. Although Caillou didn't have sex with him, his low level of cultivation combined with his previous infatuation meant he would head over heels for her. Lu Jishi took a breath before asking, "Why? How did they find out about me so quickly?" Caillou said gravely, "Everyone who was part of setting up the 7 Stars trapping formation, except Hu Jianfei and Zhang Chongwen, were arrested. I watched them get tortured. Wang Junfeng broke under the pressure and spilled everything. Because of my connection with Zhang and the others, I tricked the guards and sneaked out." Lu Jishi didn't doubt Caillou's escape but immediately exclaimed, "Impossible. How could he confess so easily? He fell for me." Lu Jishi didn't finish her sentence, agitatedly scratching the corner of the wall. Her disbelief transformed into anger under Caillou's steadfast gaze. "Useless trash. Wang Junfeng, that useless fool. I can't believe I let him join in on the 7 Stars trapping formation. He betrayed me so easily. I should have killed them earlier. Kill all of them." After letting out a low growl for some time, the noise drew the attention of the patrolling Iron Kirin soldiers. Startled, Lu Jishi quickly ducked back into the corner. She grabbed Caillou's hand and cried softly, "Caillou, the only one I can trust now is you. You must help me." "How do you want me to help you?" After a brief pause, a light sparked in Lu Jishi's eyes. "That's it. You divert their attention, and I'll slip out of the Miracle Healer Academy." "Perfect." Caillou gave her a cold, unrelenting stare, making Lu Jishi feel deeply uneasy. He said indifferently, "The Miracle Healer Academy's barrier is already in place. Even if I lure them away, you can't escape without a special inscribed jade slip." "What am I supposed to do?" Lu Jishi cried in fear. "Am I just meant to sit here and wait for my doom? No way can I get caught by Nangongyu. He'd tear me apart." "Caillou, can you try to get that inscribed jade slip for me?" A brief smirk of sarcasm crossed Caillou's eyes, but he answered soothingly, "Jishi, don't worry. I might not have the inscribed jade slip to get out of the Miracle Healer Academy, but I did get my hands on the inscribed teleportation jade slip to Sun Moon Mountain Range. We can escape to the Sun Moon Mountain Range first, lay low for a bit, and return when the coast is clear." Sun Moon Mountain Range? Lu Zixi murmured, her face reflecting a mix of emotions. Chapter 1595, Petty Sun Moon Mountain Range is dangerous. Every corner of the mountain range is filled with magical beasts, offering no sanctuary for a peaceful rest. If it's just the two of us venturing into that place, it's too dangerous. However, Sun Moon Mountain Range might just be the safest bet. With its vast expanse, surely I wouldn't be so easily found within its confines. Thinking of this, Lu Zixi grabbed Caillou's hand and excitedly said, "Okay. Great. Let's go to Sun Moon Mountain Range." In the Heaven No. 1 dormitory where Lu Zixi lived, a gap had formed where her bed used to be, uncovering a hidden cellar below. Beast roars could be heard intermittently from the cellar below. Dean Li Qingquan of the Heaven Medical Branch waved his hand. In no time, numerous things floated up from the depths. It took Li Qingquan some time to recognize them through their clothes and accessories. They were two of the Heaven Medical Branch's brightest students who had reached the gold core stage at a young age. Lu Zixi! Li Qingquan exclaimed angrily, "She really did this to my students? I won't let her get away with it." Zhang Shouyue furrowed his brows and said, "It looks like Lu Zixi has absorbed their fundamental essence and cultivation. No wonder there's a rumor that Lu Zixi has advanced from the middle stage to the late stage of the gold core stage overnight." Li Qingquan angrily waved his hand and commanded, "Search. Search every nook and cranny. Even if we have to turn the entire Miracle Healer Academy upside down, we must find that witch. I won't let that woman who has harmed our academy get away." The elders of the Miracle Healer Academy and the members of the Academy Student Council took action and joined the Iron Kirin to search for Lu Zixi. From a distance, He watched the furious Li Qingquan and Zhang Shouyue. She suddenly glanced at the man beside him and said teasingly, "Didn't you already know where Lu Zixi was? Why did you let Iron Kirin put on a show, searching high and low?" Nan Gongyu leaned down to kiss her, smiling calmly. "That woman has tried repeatedly to harm you with vicious schemes. If I let her die easily, wouldn't that be letting her off too lightly? I've heard she always used to have the upper hand, driving others into a corner. Well, this time, let her taste the bitterness of being abandoned by everyone and being chased like a rat on the street." He chuckled, "So, you also knew that these Miracle Healer Academy students would become Lu Zixi's fodder?" Even though it was a question, she said it in confidence. Especially when Nangongyu had already identified Lu Zixi as the prime suspect, how could he not keep an eye on her cultivation and movements? Nangongyu smiled. A dark gleam appeared in his eyes. "Isn't it more interesting to give her hope and then snatch it away, rather than sending her straight to hell?" "He can be pretty petty?" He chuckled and playfully poked Nangongyu's hand. "All right, okay, Your Royal Highness King of Hell. So, where are we going next to watch the show?" Nangongyu grabbed her hand, kissed it, and smiled. "Sure, you will find out if you come with me." Chapter 1596, Temptation Night had fully descended over the Sun Moon Mountain Range. The chilly wind blew briskly, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and the distant roars of magical beasts. Lu Zixi, wrapped in the clothes she took out from her storage ring, looked around vigilantly. It was the low-level magical beast area of the Sun Moon Mountain Range, home to only the 3rd and 4th rank magical beasts. It should not pose any danger to Lu Zixi. However, whenever she heard the magical beasts roar, she would shudder. Caillou walked into the cave. He brushed off the dust from his clothes. "I haven't found any pursuers yet. You should eat something and rest for a while." Lu Zixi did not accept the spiritual fruit in Caillou's hand. Instead, she pulled on his clothes and wrapped an arm around his neck, asking, "Caillou, do you like me?" The enchanting voice was gentle and charming, with deep temptation. Lu Zixi had already made up her mind. What's the use of Caillou staying by my side? His hand is crippled, rendering him unable to wield his sword. Instead of keeping him around, it's better to take away his fundamental essence. Maybe I will attain the nascent soul stage this time. Once I reach the nascent soul stage, the magical beasts in the Sun Moon Mountain Range are no match for me. My escape from the pursuers will be guaranteed, too. Thinking of this, Lu Zixi's voice became softer. "Caillou, you have helped me so much. I don't know how to repay you, so I can only dedicate myself to you." Caillou's eyes were deep, and a fleeting smirk came across his face. However, he showed a fascinated expression, grabbing Lu Zixi's hand and handing the spiritual fruit to her. "Zixi, you should eat the spiritual fruit first. I picked it for you." Lu Zixi was impatient but still swallowed the fruit quickly. Following that, she felt her body growing increasingly warm. Hallucination appeared before her eyes. It was as if the man holding her was not Caillou but the Nangongyu she longed for. Lu Zixi chuckled. "Nangongyu, I knew it. I knew you liked me. Compared to me, Shiyu is nothing, ha ha ha. After a while, the person before her turned into Chishan in the soul-splitting stage. Ugly bastard, if it weren't for your cultivation, I wouldn't want a toad like you to touch me. Ha ha ha, but your fundamental essence is all mine. Lu Jishi hugged the person before her and clung to him frantically, tearing his clothes with both hands without stopping. Early the following day, Lu Jishi woke up to a sharp, stinging pain all over her body. She groaned in pain. Upon opening her eyes, she realized that she was still in the cave. Her clothes were tattered and barely covered her. Her body had numerous minor scrapes as if she'd been rubbed against rough stones. Lu Jishi glanced to the side. She quickly spotted a withered, mummified corpse. Its original appearance was utterly unrecognizable. Next to the mummy lay the clothes that Caillou wore yesterday. Lu Jishi stood up and kicked the mummy aside, her eyes full of disgust. When she discovered that her cultivation was still at the gold core stage and hadn't advanced to the nascent soul stage, she stepped on the mummy and grunted, "Useless trash. I have absorbed your cultivation fully until you're a dried corpse, but I haven't attained the nascent soul stage. You're so useless." Lu Jishi took out another piece of clothing from the storage ring. Then, she treated her wounds with spiritual power before leaving. She felt that this place was too close to the teleportation array. If the pursuers came after her, she would be found immediately. She wanted to go to the area with higher rank magical beasts. Chapter 1597, Illusion Array. Lu Jishi darted through the forest and mountains until she was nearly drained of her spiritual energy. Finally, she settled in a spot that seemed relatively safe. I should have entered the 5th and 6th rank magical beast area. Lu Jishi found a cave. She planned to rest here tonight. After entering the high-rank magical beast area, it would take a lot of work to find her. However, as soon as she entered the cave, Lu Jishi's figure froze. Her wide eyes radiated a look of disbelief and horror. So, what did she see in the cave? It was the same rocks and the ashes of the grass pile from yesterday. Even Caillou's mummified corpse was in the same spot. Ah! Lu Jishi screamed in horror. She dashed out of the cave as if fleeing for her life, plunging into the darkness. Half an hour later, Lu Jishi saw the familiar cave again. She had been flying at full speed, pushing herself to the limit. It can't be. It's impossible to return to this place. Impossible. Lu Jishi trembled and slowly walked into the cave, only to once again see the mummified corpse of Caillou. She had a total breakdown. Caillou, is this your doing? Is it you playing tricks? Show yourself. Come out. The cave was empty. Only her shrill voice echoed. Sob, Caillou, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please spare me. Lu Jishi threw herself on the ground and cried loudly, then fell asleep exhausted. When she woke up again, she found her situation had not improved. In fact, it had become even more dire. Lu Jishi realized that she could not exert her spiritual power. Her storage ring wasn't functioning. All the food, magic weapons, and clothes could not be taken out. No. No. I won't die like this. Lu Jishi shook her head frantically. She then rushed out of the cave. Someone must be plotting against me. I must have fallen into some illusion. That's right. Everything will be fine after I exit the illusion array. I will not die. I will never give up so easily. Despite the distance, He and the others could see Lu Jishi's situation clearly on the high hill. Qian Dazhuang, who was standing behind He, said, "How many days has she been like this?" "It must have been quite some days." Qing Wan chuckled, "But she's impressively resilient. Ordinary people would have gone crazy long ago." Jin Ziyu said lightly, "How can a woman who is so cruel and vicious be an ordinary person? It's been a whole half-month. Most people would have broken down or even ended their lives in such a dire situation. Yet she didn't just survive. She didn't hesitate to seduce any man she encountered in the illusion, wanting to drain them dry. A woman like that would go to any lengths, no matter how wicked, to achieve her goals." It seemed half a month had passed. Meanwhile, Lu Jishi almost lost her sanity in the 7-death illusion array. She could never get out of that cave, nor could she find food or water. Every time she walked back to the cave, she would see the mummified corpse, as if reminding her that she was still living in hell and couldn't break free. Compared with the dead Caillou, her situation was even more miserable. In the illusion array, Lu Jishi was starving to the point of hallucinating delicious food and spiritual fruits. Dressed in tattered clothes, with disheveled hair full of knots and dust, she drooled incessantly, pleading, "Food. Give me food. I need water, ha ha ha." Chapter 1598, Grievances. Biting into it is just amazing. The fruit is so tasty, and the grilled meat smells so good. It's just too delicious. Ha ha ha, I finally got some food. I'm saved at last. Lu Jishi was ecstatic, eating and laughing at the same time. This scene fell in the eyes of Qingluan and the others, but she was so disgusted that she was about to throw up. Instead of grilled meat, Lu Jishi was eating her limbs. One bite at a time. Her mouth was dripping with blood, and the bones of her limbs were exposed. However, she didn't notice it and kept saying, "It's delicious." Hushi glanced at the man who was silently observing the scene from a distance. Leaning lazily in Nangongyu's embrace, she asked, "Caillou, have you settled your grievances now?" She and Nangongyu couldn't stand Lu Jishi like she was a pesky bug. They could only gain peace after squashing it. At most, they would let Lu Jishi taste more pain before crushing her to death. However, the situation was different for Caillou. His hatred now equaled the love he once had for Lu Jishi, and his ruthlessness now matched the loyalty he once showed. Caillou crafted the entire plan to capture Lu Jishi. Nangongyu was simply in a good mood and went along with Caillou, ensuring that Lu Jishi met an even more tragic end. Caillou smiled slightly. His expression seemed to have returned to the sunny and healthy Academy Student Council president. "It's over. Shiyu, I'm sorry for what happened back then, and thank you." Hushi didn't comment on it. Then, Caillou's figure flickered, flying toward the 7 Death Illusion Array. Qian Dazhuang said with eagerness, "Shiyu, let's go see what's going on. That bitch, Lu Jishi, did a number on our master back in the day." Chen Xiaofeng also chimed in, "That's right. We don't steal Caillou's spotlight, but adding insult to her injury is fine." Hushi smiled. "No kidding, of course, I want to see what happens to Lu Jishi. Lu Jishi hurt her the most, and she didn't mind adding insult to injury at all." Lu Jishi was biting her arm frantically when suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her. She lifted her head, her vision blurry. Upon seeing Caillou's face, she gritted her teeth and snarled, "Caillou, it's you again, always haunting me like a pestering ghost. Come at me. I'm not afraid of you. You're not even real, haha. You've been dead and gone, all dried up because of me. Even if you can't get over it, so what? You idiot, I never cared about you. You were just a pawn on my chessboard, ha ha ha." Caillou gently waved his hand. The 7 Death Illusion Array imposed on the surrounding area disappeared. Lu Jishi's laughter stopped as a piercing pain came from her arms and legs. Her once muddled mind slowly cleared up. Everything before her eyes was no longer hazy and unclear. Instead, her circumstances were laid bare in front of her. Ah! The bloody bite marks on her hands and feet and the exposed white bones laid bare before her eyes. She couldn't hold back any longer and let out a hysterical scream. Caillou watched her state condescendingly and smirked. "Lu Jishi, is your own flesh delicious? How does it feel to lose your limbs?" As he spoke, he raised his hand. Although it looked intact, it had long since become useless, all because of Lu Jishi. Chapter 1599, Tit for Tat. Lu Jishi stopped screaming. She raised her head, revealing a gaunt face. In just half a month, her face became dirty and ugly. She even had wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. "Caillou!" Lu Jishi suddenly yelled sharply, "How are you still alive? Why are you still alive? How is this possible? Didn't I drain my fundamental essence?" Caillou smirked mockingly and disgusted. "Lu Jishi, just seeing you makes my stomach turn. Do you think I would let you touch me, let alone drain my fundamental essence? Don't you like to use the 7 stars trapping formation very much? How does it feel to replace the confinement runes in the formation with illusion runes, getting trapped inside without a way out? Enjoying it?" Lu Jishi froze all of a sudden. Her deeply sunken, bloodshot eyes stared at Caillou as if it was the first day she knew this person. Then, she saw several figures descend from the sky behind Caillou. "Shiyu, Nangongyu, Jinziyu?" Everyone looked at her mockingly, as if they were looking down at a dirty maggot. Especially Shiyu, she was so glamorous, so blissfully happy, in stark contrast to her misery. Lu Jishi suddenly seemed to realize something and hysterically screamed at Caillou, "It was you! Caillou, you betrayed me, didn't you? This is all your fault." Caillou sneered, "Betray you? Lu Jishi, after the way you treated me, did you really think I'd still be loyal to you? Are you too overconfident, or have you just become hopelessly stupid? I never betrayed you. I just repaid the grudge from when you sent someone to kill me in the Spirit Extinct Valley to kill me." Lu Jishi's body trembled with agitation. She didn't hear anything else Caillou said, all she knew was that Caillou had betrayed and harmed her. Otherwise, she would have escaped. "Caillou, you traitor. I will kill you. Kill you." Since the 7 Death Illusion Array dissipated, Lu Jishi's spiritual power in the Dantian recovered swiftly. She rushed toward Caillou like a madwoman. Caillou sneered and took a step back. A black shadow sprang from his waist, rushing toward Lu Zhishi's forehead. It was a flash of black sword light. Before Lu Zhishi could get close, it pierced through her forehead, followed by a loud bang. Lu Zhishi was dead. Half of her head was blown apart, a gruesome sight to behold. When she died, she still didn't want to believe it, let alone accept it. She didn't die in the hands of Shiyu, nor in the hands of Nangongyu, but in the hands of Kaiyu. A pawn that she used by the sword of trash she looked down upon. In Spirit Extinct Valley, what kept him alive were these unexpected and surprising attack methods. Zhang Chong came forward from the crowd behind him. He said hoarsely, "Brother Kai, I'm sorry. I didn't believe you back then." Kaiyu smiled, "How can I blame you? I lied to you intentionally." Zhang Chong was still full of guilt. "Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1600. Wait another few days. Only now did Zhang Chong realize that Kaiyu had returned to Lu Zhishi's side to seek revenge. That's right. Brother Kai used to be such an upright, decisive, and capable person, so how could he be a fool controlled by lust? Zhang Chong wished he could do something to compensate Kaiyu. Zhang Chong suddenly thought of something, turned around to look at Heshi, and asked hopefully, "Shiyu, can Kaiyu's hand be healed?" Heshi said calmly, "The atrophy of the meridians in the hand isn't incurable, it can naturally be cured. However, it takes a long time, with gradual treatment and an extended period of rehabilitation. Even after healing, it will remain fragile, any attack may cause the meridians to tear open. However, choosing the profession of refining equipment shouldn't be an issue." Zhang Chongyue's eyes brightened with every word he heard. By the end, he rushed to Heshi, pleading, "Shiyu, please heal Brother Kai's hand. I'll repay you however you want, even if it means working as a slave for you." Heshi was about to speak, but Nangongyu grabbed her shoulders and sneered, "Forget about it. Shiyu will not be free for the coming months." As Nangongyu said that, he was about to shoo them away. Heshi was amused. She threw a porcelain bottle to Kaiyu. "For now, take these meridian cleansing pills for a while, and you will gradually see improvement. Later, find me in Jinling Kingdom. I'll provide a complete treatment to you." Kaiyu caught the pills. His usually calm face slowly crumbled, and his eyes began to well up with tears. He tightly clutched the pills in his hand. Although weak, a surge of boundless hope welled up within him. He owed Shiyu so much. One day, I would repay her for everything. I definitely would. The person who framed Shiyu at that wedding banquet was ultimately traced back to Lu Zhishi. This served as a way for the old lady Nangong to make amends to Shiyu. Lu Zhishi died, and the ordeal finally came to an end. Old lady Nangong took Nangongyu's hand and said, "I'm happy for you to have found the love of your life. I'll be returning to Siam continent now, but when you get married, I'll come to attend your wedding." Standing behind old lady Nangong, Nangong Hua sneered and said coldly, "It's just marrying a woman from the lower realm. What's the point of participating? It's a disgrace to our Nangong family." "Oh, it's just nice you don't want to attend. I never planned to invite you to my wedding either." "You?" Nangongyu was puzzled but still nodded. Standing not far away, Xianwu watched old lady Nangong leave the Miracle Healer Academy. His brows were furrowed, seemingly having his mind burdened by thoughts. Seeing his attitude, Qing Long asked in bafflement, "Xianwu, what's wrong?" Xianwu opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but swallowed the words back. After all, old lady Nangong is the master's relative, the only grandmother the master respected. If I only have suspicions without evidence, I shouldn't make baseless accusations, right? Thinking of this, Xianwu shook his head and said, "Nothing. Should we prepare to return to the Jinling Kingdom? After all, the master's wedding is around the corner." However, Qing Long clicked his tongue. He coughed lightly, "Perhaps we might need to wait another few days." "Why the wait? Doesn't the master always talk about bringing the princess home?" You'll find out soon. Chapter 1601. Dating. As soon as Heshi stepped out of the library, Qing Wan greeted her with a mischievous grin. "Miss, this is a letter from Master." Qing Wan handed out the inscribed jade slip in her hand and winked at Heshi. Heshi took the inscribed jade slip suspiciously and inspected it through divine sense. The written content was straightforward. It was a simple map. Someone wrote flamboyantly at a spot on the map, "Sheer, I will wait for you here, see you soon." He felt puzzled. Just as she was going to ask Qingluan about the letter, Qingluan dashed off with a giggle. She shook her head helplessly and smiled. "Nangongyu, what are you up to?" It was nearing dusk, the sun slowly setting, and the sky growing darker. When He arrived at the valley marked on the map, the valley seemed to be bathed in a layer of golden-orange glow, looking serene and breathtakingly beautiful. The well-dressed Nangongyu stood at the valley's entrance, greeting He with a gentle smile. The scene enchanted He. A flash of fleeting pleasant surprise shone in her eyes. She had always known that her man was handsome and outstanding. However, under the compliment of the sunset, she truly saw just how remarkable and irresistibly charming he was. Her heart raced as if it might leap out of her chest. A rush of warmth surged through her. She blushed, wanting to throw herself into his arms immediately. Despite that, He only smiled playfully and asked, "Nangongyu, what are you doing?" Nangongyu's eyes were tender and affectionate, gazing deeply into hers. His magnetic voice echoed softly in the twilight, "Sheer, we've known each other for a year. From the moment we met and fell in love to the verge of our wedding, I realized I've never truly dated or given you any romantic surprises. I've been remiss as a boyfriend." He was both surprised and amused. "Who taught you these? It must be that naughty little egg, right? Otherwise, how would Nangongyu, a man from ancient times, know about modern concepts like dating, a romantic surprise, and even call himself a boyfriend?" In the void, little egg grimaced at the outside world and then exchanged glances with the other little creatures. With a flash, they all disappeared into the void. Even Xiaoqi had left. Although He noticed it, she thought they wanted to play in the valley, so she didn't bother. Nangongyu reached out his hand and whispered, "Sheer, would you like to go on a date with me?" He smiled brightly, her eyes radiating a gentle and sweet warmth. Her delicate hand reached into Nangongyu's palm, saying, "I would be honored." His broad palm enveloped her slender hand, and their fingers intertwined tightly. The light in Nangongyu's eyes shone like stars in the night sky, holding the girl's hand. It was as if he owned the whole world. The two did not speak and strolled quietly in the valley. As night gradually fell, bringing with it a slight chill. However, the lovebirds remained utterly oblivious to it. Nangongyu stopped when they arrived at a lake. There were no stars or clouds tonight. The lake appeared pitch black, emitting a cold, eerie glow. Anyone who accidentally stumbled upon this place might find it creepy and terrifying. However, martial artists with advanced cultivation, like He, naturally were unfazed. She was only curious about what Nangongyu wanted to do when he brought her here. Chapter 1602, Yes, I do. Nangongyu suddenly released her hand and whispered, "Sheer, close your eyes. I have a second gift for you." He tilted her head, looking at him with a playful curiosity, but obediently closed her eyes. She felt a gentle breeze by her ear and a warm touch brushing past it as if handling the most precious treasure. He, feeling ticklish, shrank her neck a little. Soon after, she heard Nangongyu's soft voice in her ear, "He, it's done. Open your eyes." As soon as she opened his eyes, He was stunned. She closed them due to a conditioned reflex and then slowly opened them again. What entered her eyes was the view of a beautiful valley like a fairyland. A lush green meadow stretched out before her, dotted with vibrant blossoms in full bloom. The once pitch-black night sky suddenly lit up with countless twinkling stars and a radiant moon. It illuminated the valley as if it were day, yet with the unique intimacy and tranquility only night could bring. He took a sharp intake of breath and looked around. The gloomy and cold lake just now had become entirely different. Colorful butterflies fluttered through the air, leaving behind brilliant trails of glowing light. Ahead of the lake was a cascading waterfall, with water splashing everywhere. The sparkling droplets scattered in the air seemed like stars from the sky, shattered and sprinkled all around. Some said that those who loved you would be willing to do everything for you, even if it was chasing the stars and moon. In the past, He would think it was a hypocritical joke. However, at this moment, she felt it was so real. Everything before her eyes felt like a beautiful dream. Yet, this dream was meticulously crafted by Nangongyu just for her. Every blade of grass, every ray of light, held a testament to Nangongyu's feelings for her. She looked at Nangongyu, her eyes slowly filling with warmth and emotion. Nangongyu put on a gentle and handsome smile, but the nervousness in his eyes betrayed him. "Sheer, do you like it?" For this day, he couldn't fall asleep for several nights because he feared he would mess up. He nodded and said softly, "I like it." No girl would not like such a romantic and beautiful dream, especially since this dream was woven by the one she loved. Nangongyu took a deep breath. Under the starry night and moonlight, in this beautiful valley surrounded by butterflies and waterfalls, he bent one knee and knelt slowly. The evening wind gently blew the man's black satin-like hair, revealing his flawless face. A man who could easily charm countless young women was now nervously kneeling before her, with sweaty palms, yet firmly holding up a crystal-clear ring. "Shiyu, will you marry me and become my wife, forever and always, standing by my side? Is this a proposal?" This was a scene that appeared in many romance dramas. Even if He hadn't been exposed to them, there was no way she wouldn't know. She thought she didn't care about these gestures. She believed that if a man proposed to her one day, she'd scoff at it, even calling it boring. However, it turned out that this was not the case. Tears welled up in her eyes uncontrollably, dampening the corners of her eyes. For the first time, He understood what it meant to cry tears of joy and feel happiness and emotion that shook her soul. Seeing her tears, Nan Gongyu's face was flustered for a moment. Before he could speak, He had already stepped forward, held Nan Gongyu's hand holding the ring, and said sobbingly, "Yes, I do." Chapter 1603, Forever Love. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as He finished speaking, the lake before her ejected dozens of water jets, forming a fountain shimmering with iridescent lights. At the same time, countless pink petals rained down from the sky, fluttering down gracefully. It was a breathtaking sight. The butterflies that were once fluttering close to the ground suddenly soared upward, weaving together and casting beautiful patterns in the air. He looked up, appreciating the view of petals falling from the sky. Hearing the distant and the melodious music coming from nowhere, she couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. Little Egg even prepared a music fountain and scattered flowers. Can this be even more outrageous? Just as she was thinking, she was suddenly pulled into a strong, warm embrace, and was held tightly. Just as He was about to say something, the passionate kiss stopped her with emotion flooding her. Stars twinkled in the night, the moon shone brightly, water murmured gently, and petals fell all around them. They hugged and kissed each other deeply in such a fairyland and made a vow for a lifetime. He, little golden dragon, did you see that? Mother was so moved that she cried just now. Little Egg, you are too young. This scene is not suitable for children. Don't look at it. Ah, bad by who, don't cover my eyes. You are underage, not me. Chatters came from afar. He blushed and pushed Nan Gongyu away. Her cheeks were so hot that it felt like burning. Her emotions overtook her. She totally forgot about others being nearby and got so lost in Nan Gongyu's kiss. Nan Gongyu, however, seemed totally cool with it, wearing a satisfied grin. He grabbed Heshi's hand, slipping a silver ring onto her ring finger. With a slight cough, he said, "Some people say that this is the closest place to your heart. With this ring here, I can capture your heart forever." He was so thrilled hearing Shi Shui say, "Yes, I do," that he totally spaced on the way Little Egg showed him how to put on the ring. He stretched out her hand to look at the ring on her hand, smiling to herself. She couldn't figure out what it was made of. It felt like metal but was so much smoother and finer. She tilted her head to look at Nan Gongyu and said, "It's not fair that you are the only one who traps my heart. I want to claim your heart too." Nan Gongyu was about to take out another ring when He took out a simple man's ring from the void. He discovered this ring in the sealed dragon domain. Surprisingly, it had no special attributes, nor did it serve any purpose in talisman, array, or martial art. However, oddly enough, such an ordinary ring had existed for thousands of years without any signs of decay or rust. Finding it peculiar, He decided to keep it. She didn't slip the ring onto Nan Gongyu right away. Instead, she pulled out a silver needle and delicately etched a few words inside the ring. "She and you, never apart." Seeing these words, Nan Gongyu's eyes flashed. Before He reached out, he put the ring on his ring finger. He smiled and looked at him. "Who said this ring is for you? Who else can you give it to?" Nan Gongyu lowered his head and kissed her lips. His smile was like a bright sun. "Sheer, I've got dibs on you forever." Before He could speak, Little Egg's cheers suddenly came from not far away. "Oh, the marriage proposal is successful. Daddy, Mother, happy wedding." Little Pink Pig scampered over with its short legs. Then, a bunch of others showed up one after the other, trailing behind Little Egg and heading her way. Chapter 1604, Happiness Qinglong, by Hu, Qingluan, Xian Wu, Gu Lufeng, Ouyang Haoxuan, Jin Ziyu, Qian Dazhuang, Zhang Yi. Almost everyone they knew in Miracle Healer City appeared. Zhang Yi said excitedly, "Brother Shiyu, I have tamed these colorful butterflies." "Cool, huh? When you get married, I will tame many colorful phoenixes for you as wedding gifts." Zhang Chong patted his head and said in annoyance, "Stop calling her brother Shiyu. Obviously, Shiyu is a super gorgeous woman now." Little Egg hopped around excitedly, "Mother, it was all my idea. I gave all the proposal tricks to father." Wei Chengyuan took a step forward and chuckled, "Shiyu, congratulations. Shiyu, congratulations." Everyone from the Huang medical branch shouted with a smile. "Congratulations, master, congratulations, princess." Qinglong and the rest bowed down to Nangongyu. Ouyang Haoshuan and Gu Lufeng stood side by side, each pressing a fist to their heart and giving a little nod. In the moonlight, they softly said, "Shiyu, congratulations." They hoped the only master they'd ever truly followed would find the happily ever after. Xiaoqi was joyous. Her clear eyes seemed to reflect the starlight. "Sister, happy, love." She looked around at everyone, feeling a surge of emotion in her eyes. These were all the folks she met after arriving in this world. Friends, relatives, partners. She had never thought that she could have such feelings and blessings before. She had long been accustomed to fighting alone and shouldering everything alone. She had always marched to the beat of her own drum, never caring what others thought or needing anyone to join in on her journey. She had always believed that her whole life world would be summarized in this manner, but it turned out she was wrong. Receiving genuine blessings and affection from these people truly touched her heart. It's as if the originally pale life was suddenly filled with flowers. She would no longer be lonely or tired. She whispered, "Thank you. I also hope you can find your own happiness." Nangongyu hugged his beloved lady from behind, with fragrant flower petals gently flying on their cheeks. Everyone's laughter echoed in the air. If only this kind of happiness could last forever. Whoosh, whoosh, whoopsh. In the quiet night, an old man in ragged clothes was running desperately in the forest. Far behind him, several beaskins were swiftly searching for traces, moving at great speed. Those beaskins were about to catch up with the old man. The old man's face was filled with fear and despair. His cloudy eyes were bloodshot, fixated on the sky not far away. A hoarse voice echoed in the dark night, "Is it true that heaven wants to destroy our Feng family?" As soon as he finished speaking, a bone pendant on his body suddenly emitted a dazzling purple light. The old man was startled at first and then cried with joy. The beastkin behind him was getting closer and closer. A tiger beastkin was already shouting, "Don't let the bastard who wants to murder my king escape. Kill him! Kill him!" However, just as the beastkin closed in, weapons poised to strike, the figure ahead began to fade, eventually disappearing into the darkness of the forest. The tiger beastkin frowned and said, "Teleportation array? No. This energy fluctuation doesn't seem like it." Feng Wuan wrinkled his nose and sniffed. His expression changed. He broke through the barrier and went to the upper realm? How is this possible? The tiger beastkin's face darkened. "Let's go back and report to the king." Chapter 1605, Lu family. In an inconspicuous hall on the Siam continent, the Feng family's patriarch knelt down with a thud. "Third elder, please save our Feng family. Please help us avenge our family." Seated above was a middle-aged man with a sinister appearance. He glanced at the patriarch with disgust and said coldly, "You sent a message through Yun Zhao, claiming you have information about the wood source. Is that true? I've expended significant energy to allow you to breach the barrier and enter this continent. If I find any deception in your words, I'll destroy you and disintegrate your soul." Feng family's patriarch banged his head on the ground. He said tremblingly, "I wouldn't dare to deceive the third elder. The wood source has indeed appeared in the magical beast forest. If the third elder doubts it, you can investigate for yourself. However, that place is a beastkin's lair. Among them is a winged dragon beast that has advanced to rank 12. If we are not fully prepared, I fear, it's just a bunch of lowly beastkin." The third elder snorted, narrowing his eyes, "Come here. Let me examine you." Feng family's patriarch stepped forward with trepidation. He was about to ask the third elder what he intended to examine. Suddenly, the third elder locked onto his dantian. A potent, chilling spiritual power infiltrated into it. Feng family's patriarch let out an agonizing scream, his body trembling uncontrollably. He wanted to beg for mercy but didn't dare to. On the other hand, joy painted the third elder's face. "It's the wood source. There are truly the residues of wood source. Ha ha ha, our Lu family's opportunity to rise has finally come." The wood source was the most robust and pure energy in the world. Once this energy manifested, it would linger for a long time. People within its presence, while breathing and channeling their spiritual energy, would also absorb this power. However, because it was incredibly subtle, it often went unnoticed. However, the third elder, being a master of the void darkness stage, naturally had ways to detect it. He stood up abruptly and said, "Go find Yunjiao to tend to your wounds. I will inform the family master and the great elder. Muhua, you've done a great service this time. If we truly obtain the wood source, our Lu family will definitely reward you." Feng family's patriarch was overjoyed and quickly bowed to express his gratitude. The news about the wood source swept through the Lu family like a hurricane, startling everyone. Lu Songhai, the Lu family master, gazed at those below and instructed sternly, "Wood source is something the entire Siam continent covets. We must keep this news a secret." Everyone below nodded in agreement. Lu Songhai turned his gaze to the Feng family's patriarch and said calmly, "Can you determine who or what possesses the wood source?" Feng family's patriarch shook his head in panic. He initially thought the wood source was from the dragon, but after the fight, he discovered that maybe it wasn't. At that time, there were so many people in the magical beast forest. Feeling the disdainful and cold stares from the surrounding members of the Lu family, as if they were looking at a useless pawn, the patriarch of the Feng family trembled slightly. Suddenly, a handsome young man standing behind the Feng family's patriarch took a step forward, bowed to Lu Songhai, and said, "Master, I might have a way to determine who owns the wood source." This young man's name was Feng Yunjiao. He was the only remaining descendant of the Feng family and the only hope for the Feng family. Despite his age, his talent was somewhat lacking. He had only reached the nascent soul stage. However, only he was kept by the Lu family to train at the main residence. This was because his spiritual roots and the techniques he could cultivate were exceptionally unique. Chapter 1606, Reincarnation Art. Feng Yunjiao had a mutated wood spiritual root, but his ability wasn't related to healing, but to controlling time. Even if he could only control the flow of time within a limited area, it was still an incredibly rare ability. Lu Songhai's attitude toward Feng Yunjiao softened a lot. He said in a deep voice, "What do you propose?" Feng Yunjiao raised his head, revealing a gentle and charming smile. "I attained the 3rd level of Reincarnation Art half a year ago. If the residue of the wood source is sufficient, I believe I can definitely recreate the scene from several months ago." The 3rd level of the Reincarnation Art? With that said, everyone in the Lu family sat up and looked at Feng Yunjiao in shock. The Feng family's patriarch was startled, exclaiming, "Yunjiao, casting the Reincarnation Art comes with a great cost. With your current cultivation level, if you employ the art, you will probably be downgraded to the gold core stage. You can't do that." Feng Yunjiao remained composed, with no hint of panic on his face. He calmly said, "The Lu family has shown Yunjiao immense kindness. It is Yunjiao's honor to lessen the burden of the family master and the elders." Lu Songhai nodded repeatedly, looking at Feng Yunjiao with an increasingly pleasing expression. "Nice. Great. Yunjiao, for your dedication to the Lu family, we will surely not let you down. Yunjiao, 3rd elder, you shall investigate the wood source." Lu Songhai paused. "This matter must be kept a secret. No one else should find out about it. As for the Lu family, everything proceeds as usual. We can't have anyone suspect anything. As for reporting to the elderly patriarch, I will handle it accordingly. For the matters regarding the Miluo continent, I will have Wushuang assist you." Everyone below received the order. Their eyes were filled with burning passion. If the Lu family could secure the wood source, they would undoubtedly become one of the prominent families on the Siam continent. From then on, the rise of the Lu family would be unstoppable. In the northern glacier of the Miluo continent, in the Thousand Poison Valley, with her face veiled, she stared intently at a nearby portrait. In a sudden burst of anger, she grabbed a glass and hurled it to the ground. The portrait depicted a woman of unparalleled beauty, wearing dazzling clothes that shimmered with iridescent light. Though her face wore a cold and indifferent expression, devoid of any emotion, anyone would be captivated upon seeing her. "Shi Yu! Nangong Yu!" Lu Wushuang yelled out these 2 names bitterly. Unexpectedly, Shi Yu turned out to be a woman and took away the phoenix feather heavenly dress that she sought after for so long. What made her resentful the most was that Nangong Yu turned out to be just like Nangong Aodian. The 2 enchanting beauties, Feng Lianing and Yun Jingxue, could not seduce him. On the contrary, he was about to get married to Shi Yu. Trash. A bunch of trash. What's the point of keeping you alive? How did Yun Jingxue fail to seduce Nangong Yu? Without that, there's no way for me to implant voodoo into Nangong Yu's body. How can I turn Nangong Yu into my puppet? Now that Nangong Yu is about to marry Shi Yu, am I just going to watch the bastard of Nangong Aodian and Yun Churan live happily ever after? No. I won't let that happen. The bastard of Yun Churan has to taste all the pain in the world and meet a tragic end. This is the only way to quench my resentment. Also, that arrogant young man? In Lu Wushuang's eyes flashed the face of Ouyang Haoshuan, who still smiled nonchalantly even with a severed hand. A fiery glint appeared in her eyes. Chapter 1607, Letter from the Lu Family. It had been a long time since Lu Wushuang was so interested in a toy boy. She was so captivated that she would do anything to have him. In Lu Wushuang's eyes, Ouyang Haoshuan had long been her toy boy and her possession. Darn it, why is Ouyang Haoshuan so obsessed with that bitch, Shiyu? Lu Wushuang picked up another glass and smashed it on the ground. Her expression under the veil was distorted. Valley Master, why are you so upset? Allow me to calm you down, okay? A toy boy's soft voice rang in her ears, as hands softly rested on her shoulders. Lu Wushuang's eyes flickered. She slowly pulled off his mask and asked the toy boy, "Am I pretty?" Pretty, Valley Master is the most beautiful in my heart." The toy boy's eyes burned with lust. Lu Wushuang pointed to the portrait before her. "So, is she prettier or am I?" The toy boy followed Lu Wushuang's gesture and looked over, chuckling softly. "Of course, Valley Master is the prettiest. There is such a beautiful woman in this world." A ruthless and menacing light flashed in Lu Wushuang's eyes. Suddenly, she extended her hand and swiftly grabbed the toy boy's head. The fascination in the toy boy's eyes turned into panic. He screamed, "Valley Master, you are prettier. Valley Master, you are 100 times more beautiful than her. Valley Master, please spare me, Lu Wushuang sneered. Then, before he could finish his words, she tightened her grip, her fingers digging deep into his head. She tossed the lifeless body aside. A mix of red and yellow liquid gurgled out from the skull, staining the wool blanket on the ground. Lu Wushuang's gaze remained fixed on the portrait, which depicted Shiyu wearing the phoenix feather heavenly dress at the Nangong family's banquet. Rumor had it that the beauty in the painting was only a fraction of Shiyu's actual beauty, perhaps 1/10. Yet even this mere fraction seemed more captivating than her, Lu Wushuang. Why? Why did Shiyu, a trash from a lowly realm, get to marry into the Nangong family? How could she even compare to me? A cold murderous intent flashed in Lu Wushuang's eyes. She left and issued her orders. Suddenly, a woman dressed in white and wearing a veil hurried in. "Valley Master, it's a letter from the Lu family." Lu Wushuang was surprised and froze momentarily. Ever since Lu Wushuang came to the lower realm, Miluo continent and killed Yuncharan, the Lu family had always pretended that she did not exist. Since then, Lu Wushuang had been exiled to the Miluo continent and could not return to the upper realm. This was the punishment the Lu family imposed on her, and it was also her own obsession. Although Nangong Outyan and Yuncharan were dead, their offspring, Nangong Yu, was still alive and well, especially under the protection of the old man from Siam. How could she possibly accept this? Therefore, before Nangong Yu died tragically, even if the Lu family summoned her back, she wouldn't return. However, this didn't mean that she didn't want to be forgiven by the Lu family or wish to return to the Lu family. Chapter 1608, Have a safe journey. Taking the light green inscribed jade slip, Lu Wushuang sank her divine sense into it. Once she read the contents, her eyes shone with fervent light. Wood source. With that, our Lu family can rise to prominence. I will get to return to the Lu family as well. At that moment, Lu Wushuang put everything else out of her mind and waved at the woman in white. Send the order immediately. We're heading to the magical beast forest. Also, bring my newly configured voodoo poison, Crimson Voodoo. Haha, aren't the beastkins of the magical beast forest powerful? I want to see if they can break through my voodoo poison barrier. Shiyu, Nangong Yu, I shall let you enjoy your life while you can. Once I get the wood source, I will send you to hell. As the wedding date drew nearer, He finally managed to get through most of the books in the Miracle Healer Academy's library. Over at the King of Hell Mansion, with people constantly coming over and urging her with long faces, He decided to return to Jinling City. Actually, she did receive letters from Mai Xiang and the others from the Sealed Dragon Domain, asking her to stay at the Miracle Healer Academy until just before the wedding. They promised to handle all wedding preparations on their end, so she wouldn't have to worry about a thing. The King of Hell Mansion was responsible for the groom's side of the wedding, from the bridal chamber to hosting the guests. With the groom, Nangong Yu, absent, Butler Nan at the mansion was nearing his wit's end. Butler Nan sent updates on the wedding preparations to Nangong Yu every few days. Meanwhile, the boundless black market sent a barrage of letters daily, urging him to return. On the other hand, Nangong Yu took his sweet time. He acted as though guarding his wife was of utmost importance, dismissing the people Butler Nan sent. In the end, Butler Nan had to send a letter to He asking for help. Otherwise, the people at King of Hell Mansion would be overwhelmed. The afternoon sun bathed the minimalist courtyard of the Huang dormitory. He raised her head, basking in the pleasant. She squinted her eyes for a while before turning to the man beside her. Xianmu, I'm going back to Jinling Kingdom. The man took a pause before nodding. Congratulations. Will you come to our wedding? Xianmu was silent for a moment. He then shook his head. After the matter here is over, it's time for me to go back and resume my life. The man did not mention what he was planning, where he was headed, or whom he was reporting back to. He didn't ask further. She raised her glass and waved it toward him. Then, I wish you a safe journey. Xianmu raised his glass, clinked it with her, and drank it in one gulp. The wine He poured was top-notch and notably strong. Its pungent spiciness combined with the rich aroma hit the nose. As it flowed down his throat, it felt as if it could scorch his esophagus and internal organs. This mix of pain and relief felt just like what he had been going through recently. Xianmu suddenly took out a jade box and placed it before He. Here's my wedding gift. He took the gift curiously and opened it. She found a bundle of extremely fine, transparent threads inside, emitting a chilly aura. Chapter 1609, Take care, this is, Cocoon Ice Silk. Ordinary magic weapons from the Siam continent cannot cut it, and it is invulnerable to ordinary water and fire. I've noticed you occasionally use silver needles as weapons, so this silk thread might help you. It was rare to hear Xianmu speak so much. He was so taken aback that she even forgot to marvel at the uniqueness of the ice silk. It wasn't until Xianmu noticed her lack of response that he looked over curiously. He came back to her senses and put the ice silk away with a smile. Thank you. She couldn't say anything else except thank you. This friend helped her a lot in the Miracle Healer Academy and gave her many rare treasures in the Miluo continent. He wanted to offer something in return, but the treasures of the Miluo continent were merely ordinary items to Xianmu. He took out a storage ring and said with a smile, I don't have much to offer in return. I heard from my master that many of the seniors in the Siam continent are quite fond of wine. Here, take the wine. If you like them, enjoy them yourself, if not, feel free to give them away. Aren't you going to report back? If your master isn't satisfied with your work, use these wines to bribe him. Xianmu took the storage ring over with a dull expression. I can't imagine their comical reaction when I bribe them with wine. After putting away the storage ring, the sound of the airship taking off could be heard not far away. Just as He was about to say goodbye to Xianmu, he took a step forward, reached out, grabbed her, and hugged her gently. He was taken aback. Just as she was about to push him away, a deep male voice whispered in her ear, Xiyu, be careful and look after yourself. The surprise on her face gradually softened. He smiled and said, you too, take care. Just as she was about to step away, a sudden strong pull from behind drew her into a warm and familiar embrace. Nan Gongyu's cold and unfriendly voice sounded, leave. Xiyu is mine. Lay a hand on her again, I'll chop you into pieces. Xianmu sneered, if you don't mind losing your limbs before marriage, try me. The air was seemingly filled with crackling flames, reminiscent of lightning and thunder. A fight could break out at any moment. He pressed her temples with a headache. She escaped from Nan Gongyu's arms, turned around, and walked toward the Star Ocean airship. If you're insistent on fighting now, suit yourself. I'm heading back to the Jinling Kingdom first. Baihu, get ready to sail. Baihu chuckled. Nan Gongyu shot Xianmu a glare, then hurriedly caught up, saying, get ready to set sail. The airship slowly lifted into the air, creating gusts of wind throughout the Miracle Healer Academy. At this time, the Huang medical branch was empty. Everyone, including Zhang Shouyue, followed He to Jinling City. They had prided themselves on being He's close family. Of course, they would attend her wedding. The elders and students of Miracle Healer Academy who weren't boarding the airship gazed upward at the departing airship. Their hearts were filled with melancholy. The most talented, yet most troublesome student in the history of the Miracle Healer Academy, Xiyu, had finally left. The academy returned to its usual calm, but many were left with feelings of longing and loneliness. And that girl would embark on a brand new journey, continuing to shape her legendary and bright future. Chapter 1610, They have returned. The airship landed slowly at the foot of Tsang Mountain. Hushi's eyes widened in shock as she watched the scene below. Looking down from the airship, all she could see were crowds of people packed tightly together at the base of Tsang Mountain. They looked like swarming ants from above. Zhang Yi and the rest were shocked. They stammered, Brother Shiyu, how come, why are there so many people? I've been wondering the same thing. The corners of Shiyu's mouth twitched. Butler Nan stood nearby with an amiable smile like a Buddha. Masters, ever since the word of your wedding spread, the people of Jinling City and martial artists from the other kingdom have visited us. They've been waiting here, hoping to catch a glimpse of you. In fact, many people from the Miluo continent attended the Nangong family banquet at Miracle Healer Academy. Ever since they saw Shiyu in women's clothing, they had become crazy fans and spread the word everywhere in Miluo continent. Many talented artists painted portraits of Shiyu. Anyone who saw those portraits was utterly amazed. Moreover, Nangong Yu's striking appearance was already well known to everyone. With such a strikingly handsome man and a beautiful woman coming together, who wouldn't want to catch a glimpse? That was why there was a terrifying scene where people gathered outside the sealed dragon domain all day just to see the true appearance of the couple. Butler Nan smiled and said, "We can't just let the crowd gather like this. Why doesn't the king lead the queen out to meet them and then persuade them to leave? This would not only clear the crowd but also put to rest the rumors that the king of hell's wife was a man. It would be like killing two birds with one stone." Nangong Yu wasn't usually inclined to deal with unrelated matters or people, but Butler Nan's warm and benevolent smile persuaded him otherwise. Hushi only wanted to disperse the crowd so she could return to the sealed dragon domain and have a good rest. At the foot of Song Mountain, the bustling crowd went quiet. Everyone looked up into the sky in unison. An airship slowly descended towards them, proudly displaying the emblem of the King of Hell Mansion, Iron Kirin. Ah, it's His Highness King of Hell and the Queen. They have returned. Is she really a woman? Is she really as beautiful as the portrait? I want to see her. Damn, stop pushing me away. I've been waiting here for many days just to take a look at Shiyu's true appearance. The Star Ocean airship slowly descended, but it hovered just above the crowd instead of landing. As the air current settled, the crowd looking up could clearly see the scene on the deck of the ship. A tall, strikingly handsome man appeared, walking slowly with a young woman by his side. The moment they saw the man, many couldn't help but gasp in awe. Several women were enchanted by the charm, almost to the point of fainting. However, when the crowd got a clear view of the young woman beside him, they all froze in place, as if turned to stone. They held their breath, not even blinking an eye. No words, idioms, or verses from the greatest poets could capture her beauty. Dressed in a simple light green outfit, her ink-black hair was elegantly secured by a single jade hairpin. Apart from that, she wore no other jewelry or adornments. However, the moment this young woman appeared, it felt as if all the elements of the universe, the sun, moon, and stars, suddenly paled in comparison, losing their shine. Everyone, Hushi and I, Nangong Yu, will be getting married in 10 days. You are all welcome to join the wedding banquet at the King of Hell Mansion. However, this area around Song Mountain is the private property of my fiancée, Hushi. I kindly ask everyone to leave promptly and not disturb her rest. Chapter 1611. The aggrieved daughter-in-law. Nangong Yu's deep voice resonated, snapping many back to their senses. However, some were still drooling, gazing at Shiyu in a daze. Nangong Yu sneered. His voice took an icy tone. Half an hour from now, if I catch anyone disturbing Shiyu's rest in this area, don't blame the King of Hell Mansion for what's going to happen. This statement, though seemingly calm and casual, was like a bolt of lightning, instantly jolting those who were still entranced back to reality. The crowd let out a gasp, taking one last longing glance at the couple who looked like they were straight out of a fairy tale, before scattering in all directions. They surely wanted to admire the goddess's beauty more, but who dared to defy the mighty presence of the King of Hell? It was better to gaze from a distance than risk their lives up close. In no time, the crowd that was once densely packed at the foot of the mountain had dispersed. Hushi was delighted. She jumped out of the Star Ocean airship. Miss, you are finally back. Shijia and others streamed out of the teleportation array. They knelt before Hushi, their eyes filled with joy and excitement of a long-awaited reunion. Mai Xiang, who was rather emotional, had secretly wiped away her tears. It had been too long since they last saw Mississippi. Mudong took a step forward and said, "Miss, your room has already been prepared. You must be tired from your journey, allow me to escort you to your rest." Hushi smiled and nodded. As she was about to follow Shijia and the others into the teleportation array, she saw Nangong Yu following them again. Butler Nan, who was not far away, looked at her with a troubled and pleading expression. Hushi couldn't resist a gentle chuckle as she playfully pushed Nangong Yu, remarking, "Behave for now, return when your work is finished." Nangong Yu wore a sad expression as if he were an aggrieved daughter-in-law. Hushi ignored him, turned around, and disappeared into the teleportation array with Shi Jia and the rest. Jin Ziyu and the others naturally followed into the sealed dragon domain's teleportation array, but when they passed by Nangongyu, their expressions were intricate. Shiyu actually told His Majesty King of Hell to behave, while Nangongyu still looked aggrieved. Everyone felt like their worldviews had been turned upside down. On the contrary, Qinglong and the others had long been accustomed to how the king and the queen got along, and they were used to it. As soon as Heshi's figure disappeared, Nangongyu immediately returned to his usual cold and indifferent demeanor. He waved his hand and commanded, Xianwu, assemble a team of Iron Kirin to guard the area. The rest of you, accompany me back to the King of Hell mansion. Yes, master. Lu Shuyang knelt nervously on the cold blue stone brick floor, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Not far in front of him was an empty chair. A man wearing a white robe and a silver mask stood next to the chair with a respectful expression. Suddenly, there was a flash of silver light, and a figure was projected on the chair. It was a tall man wearing a moon-white robe, with green vines printed on it. They intertwined to form a pattern. The man's face was also concealed behind a mask, but this mask was exceedingly eerie. It featured the same vine-like patterns, yet under the crystal's light, those vines seemed to move as if they were alive. Upon seeing this person appear, the sweat on Lu Shuyang's face dripped down from his forehead. He bowed his head and respectfully said, "Greetings, your venerable." The man seated above cast a calm glance at him and inquired, "Do you have anything to say?" Lu Shuyang looked up and saw Qishan's figure. Chapter 1612, A chance to explain myself. Standing beside the man in the green vine-patterned robe, the silver fox's expression darkened as he said, "Lu Shuyang, when I asked you if you knew about the wood source, you claimed to know nothing. Are you deliberately deceiving Venerable Qingtang? This subordinate would never dare." Lu Shuyang cowed out on the bluestone ground with a resounding thud, his voice trembling with extreme fear. "Your venerable, please give this subordinate a chance to explain himself." The man in the long robe chuckled softly, his laughter carrying an ambiguous tone as if toying with a little mouse. "Oh? Then go ahead and tell us." "I admit that I have indeed concealed some information about the wood source from Sir Silver Fox and Sir Qishan. But that's because, firstly, I haven't yet confirmed the true whereabouts of the wood source. Secondly, I want to wait for His Venerable to come out of seclusion and report to you in person. I admit I had my own motives, but I would never dare to betray or deceive you." Lu Shuyang's words made Silver Fox's face become even more ugly. The eyes looking at him seemed to be quenched with poison. This insignificant mortal from the lower realms actually dares to seek favor before His Venerable, attempting to surpass both Qishan and me. He had news, yet he chose not to inform me but instead reported directly to His Venerable. Who does he think he is? However, the man in the long robe burst into hearty laughter. After a bout of laughter, he finally said, "I am aware of your loyalty. So, do you now have a clear idea of who possesses the wood source?" Lu Shuyang heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He had finally passed this test. However, he was unwilling to hand over the wood source that was almost within his grasp. The man in the long robe lightly tapped on something and said, "Tell me about your discovery." Before the leader of the Green Vine clan, Lu Shuyang dared not hide anything. He quickly recounted what he had heard from the heavenly mulberry sacred tree in the magic beast forest, the battle with Shiyu, and the discovery of several types of spiritual roots in his body. He then went on to explain his discovery within the seven-star formation, that there would be residual traces once the wood source was exerted. Although these remnants were extremely faint, they had been detected by his voodoo. The light in the eyes of Venerable Qingting flickered, and a blazing fire slowly burned in the depths of his eyes. However, this time, his intuition told him that it was right. The wood source they had been relentlessly pursuing was right there. That was the hope of their Green Vine clan and the greatest assurance for the Green Vine clan's rise to power. "Silver Fox!" Venerable Qingting shouted. Silver Fox quickly bowed. Accompany President Lu on another trip to the magical beast forest to investigate whether any remnants of the wood source are left in it. If that person truly possesses the wood source and not an ordinary wood spiritual root, then the essence of life should undoubtedly still linger within them. "Qishan, bring your men to Miluo Continent's Jinling Kingdom and keep a close watch on Shiyu's movements, ensuring she doesn't escape our control. You have to stop anyone from seizing the opportunity before us. But remember, you must be discreet and cautious. Until confirmation, let no one detect your presence." Chapter 1613, Losing his composure. "Yes, your venerable." Qishan, standing behind Venerable Qingtang, acknowledged the command. President Lu, I will attribute all the merit of this matter to you. Venerable Qingting looked at Lu Shuyang gently. If I really get the wood source, I promise you will have a firm footing within the Green Vine clan. Lu Shuyang's face lit up with immense joy. He quickly bowed deeply in gratitude. He made his exit upon Venerable Qingting's gesture. You're venerable, do you really trust that sneaky Lu Shuyang? Silver Fox exclaimed indignantly. Venerable Qingting chuckled, his eyes filled with disdain. This little rat who came crawling to us has greed and desires so obvious that they can't even be hidden. How could I truly trust him? However, his abilities are useful. Until we get what we want, keep a close watch on him. But be careful when searching for the wood source, don't let him get the upper hand. A glint flashed in Silver Fox's eyes, but a pleased expression appeared on his face. Your wisdom shines, you're venerable. I know what to do now. At that moment, Qishan, who stood behind the Venerable Qingting, hesitated and said, You're venerable, there is one more thing. Although Shiyu is a lower realm martial artist, she was accepted as the immortal Xianqing's disciple. Immortal Xianqing is also very fond of this disciple. Furthermore, even Venerable Huiyu treats Shiyu in high regard. Immortal Xianqing? Venerable Qingting's eyes showed a trace of surprise. He actually accepted a disciple in the Miluo continent? Even in the Siam continent, I have never seen this old guy take on a disciple. No way. Venerable Qingting immediately dismissed this thought. Immortal Xianqing is renowned in the Siam continent for always regarding fame, wealth, power, magic weapons, and scriptures as worthless. If he covets them, he would have risen to a status even higher than mine by now. In the Siam continent, everyone knows that immortal Xianqing only has food and wine in his eyes. So he must have really liked that martial artist named Shiyu. You're venerable, Qishan hesitated for a moment before whispering, Shiyu has also put on the phoenix feather heavenly dress. Not only did she put it on, but the phoenix feather heavenly dress has recognized her as its master. What? This time, Venerable Qingting finally lost his composure and jumped up from his seat, his face full of horror. Chosen by the phoenix feather heavenly dress? Could she be the one destined by that person? No. Impossible. That's just a baseless rumor, yes, just a rumor. Besides, how long has it been since that person disappeared? Venerable Qingting took a deep breath, suppressing the instinctual fear in his heart. He frowned and said, Qishan, Silver Fox, treat this matter with utmost care and ensure no one learns of it. I'll dispatch Black Snake and the Green Vine clans, Wind Division, to aid you. Do you understand? Yes, you're venerable. Silver Fox said again, what about Immortal Xianqing and Venerable Huiyu? Huiyu is currently swamped with matters in the Divine Moon Palace and certainly won't have the time to concern himself with a girl from the lower realm. As for Xianqing, don't worry about him. I'll find a way to get him to leave Miluo Continent. The Green Vine clan was determined to get the wood source. After returning to the sealed dragon domain, He took a good rest. When she woke up again, she felt incredibly rejuvenated, both physically and mentally. Sealed dragon domain, previously ideal for the Greenwood domain and Water Moon domain, had undergone significant changes. Pavilions and towers were erected. Alongside the green mountains and clear waters, the scenery was indescribably beautiful. Chapter 1614, Amusing, Sister Shiyu, it's been so long. I've missed you so much. A crisp female voice echoed from a distance, followed by a petite figure rushing into her arms. It was Shenqingchua, along with Shensen, who followed behind her with a smile. Shensen chuckled, we're here for your wedding with His Highness King of Hell. You're not going to turn us away, are you? He smiled slightly, why would I? It's my pleasure. Shensen looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. He couldn't find any words that could describe his current emotion. When they first met, the girl in front of him was just a low-rank martial artist at the foundation establishment stage, struggling to survive under the pursuit of the Feng family. But in just less than a year, she had achieved such an incredible height and was about to marry into the King of Hell mansion. Shiyu, why can't I discern your current cultivation level? Shensen exclaimed, you seem to be at the gold core stage, but I feel that your strength far surpasses mine. Seeing He just smile without uttering a word, Shensen became discouraged. With the pace of your advancement, how are ordinary people like us supposed to keep up? Shenqingchua giggled, that's because Sister Shiyu is a genius. She's the best, unmatched in the world. Even if you're envious, uncle, it won't help. Right, Sister Xiaoyu? He tapped her forehead and whispered, did you approach Gu Lufeng? Shenqingchua blushed and changed the subject, by the way, Sister Shiyu, Mo Xiaoda left a few months ago. She said that she received a letter from home asking her to go back immediately, and I asked her where her home was. But she refused to reveal anything and only said that her home was far away. He had a rough idea. Mo Xiaodu must be from the Siam continent. After coming into contact with the martial artists from the Siam continent, He could distinctly sense the unique aura radiating from these upper realm individuals. After catching up with Shensun, they left. Shi Jia and the others immediately entered and reported to He about what had happened in the past 6 months. To He's relief, the strength of Shi Jia's group had improved rapidly, having already reached the realm of the bone-tempering state. While such rapid progress in cultivation was partly due to the benefits of the sealed dragon domain's bonus, to reach such a level in such a short time, Xie Jia and the others must have put in efforts far beyond that of ordinary people. He nodded delightfully. You all have done well. It was just a simple sentence, but it immediately brought tears to Xie Jia and the others' eyes as they knelt down, bowing their heads deeply. They felt that all their efforts and struggles over the past half-year were worth it. Mai Xiang and Mudong also walked up to He. Mai Xiang said playfully, Miss, we've done well too. We've been working day and night these past few days to make your wedding dress. Give us some praise too. He chuckled. Can this group be any more amusing? The sealed dragon domain, which was originally quiet and methodically operating, suddenly sprang to life with the return of its master. The lively, bustling, and cheerful sounds filled the place, as if even the air itself was imbued with the warmth of happiness. Chapter 16:15, Breaking into the boudoir at night. Conversely, Nan Gongyu was in a bad mood. The King of Hell mansion was bustling, but it was too hectic. Butler Nan, in particular, who had always treated Nan Gongyu as his nephew, would never allow any flaws in his master's wedding. This is Nan Gongyu's wedding we're talking about. Is the King of Hell mansion lavish? No. It's too old, the pavilions must be renovated. The room's decor is luxurious and elegant? You must be joking. Without displaying a couple of priceless treasures, how can we showcase the style and grandeur of the King of Hell mansion? Bed canopies, curtains, bedding, and red lanterns? All must be arranged properly. The King of Hell mansion should not only have everything that mortals use for their weddings but also even things they don't. The days of wedding preparations wore Qinglong, Bai Hu, and Wu Xian out to the point of near collapse. Bai Hu retorted, Butler Nan, when will you ever be satisfied? By your logic, we might as well just rebuild the entire King of Hell mansion from scratch. What a great idea. Butler Nan thought for a while, then suddenly clapped his hands and said, the King of Hell mansion in Jinling City is no longer big enough. I think we should build another one at the foot of Tsang Mountain, which can be used as a courtyard for the prince and the queen to relax. Bai Hu, you shall be in charge of this matter. Bai Hu sighed, Butler Nan, you might as well kill me. If Butler Nan was someone everyone tried to avoid, then Nan Gongyu was someone who rendered them all silent in awe. Nan Gongyu hadn't seen He for 6 days. Every time he entered the sealed dragon domain, the barrier would send him out. The straightforward Shi Gue, who was the only woman in the group, said earnestly, Mammy once told us that it's bad luck for the bride and groom to see each other before the wedding. Your Highness, King of Hell, please leave. Oh, the so-called Mammy was Deputy General Chen's mortal mother, who was already in her 70s. She was now responsible for teaching He the wedding ceremony. Nan Gongyu's face was gloomy. This was the 3rd time he had been kicked out. Staring at the activated barrier, he scoffed, you think this measly mountain protection barrier can stop me? Humph, I must see Sheer today, no matter what. In the dead of night, the sealed dragon domain fell into silence. Shi Yu's house was situated in the area of the Greenwood domain where the spiritual power was abundant. While cultivating the circle of life, she suddenly heard a noise. As she opened her eyes, she saw Nan Gongyu jumping in from the window. She couldn't help but giggle, the mighty King of Hell sneaking into a lady's boudoir at night? Aren't you afraid of being taken for a rogue? You're a bad girl. In a flash, Nan Gongyu appeared before her, playfully tapping her nose with a finger. He whispered, do you have any idea how much I've missed you? Every time I come over, I'm sent away by your stern-faced maid. I'm willing to be seen as a rogue for you, and yet you mock me. He leaned into his arms and smiled brightly, fine, I admit I was wrong. Are you happy now? Just admitting your mistake isn't enough. Nan Gongyu's eyes burned with passion, his voice becoming deeper, naughty girl, I need to give you a proper punishment. Upon finishing his sentence, he leaned down to capture He's tender lips in a deep kiss. He felt like her whole body was on fire as if she would melt into Nan Gongyu's arms at any moment. Chapter 1616. Likewise Nangongyu took a deep breath to calm his heart's rapid pace. Pulling Heshi back into his embrace, he murmured hoarsely, "Why is it still 5 days until the 9th of September, Sheer? I can hardly wait any longer." Heshi wrapped her arms around Nangongyu's waist and rested her head against his steadily beating heart, whispering, "Nangongyu, have I ever told you that meeting you is the greatest fortune I've had in this world?" With his eyes shining brilliantly and warmly, Nangongyu leaned down to kiss her forehead, murmuring, "The feeling is mutual." Heshi suddenly recalled their first encounter, when Nangongyu had also snuck into her room at night. Back then, they were both wary of each other, strangers and distant. But now, they were about to become the closest people in the world to each other, inseparable for life. Life truly worked in mysterious ways. Suddenly, Nangongyu opened his left palm, revealing a unique, round object that slowly materialized in his hand. To Heshi's surprise, the object seemed to emerge directly from the flesh and blood of Nangongyu's palm. From its appearance, it looks like a seed with a green outer layer. "What is this?" Heshi asked in surprise. Unexpectedly, Nangongyu shook his head, "I don't know either. When my mother was still alive, she told me that 2 strange things happened when I was born. One was that the bright day suddenly turned into night, with the sun, moon, and stars vanishing without a trace. It wasn't an eclipse, and this phenomenon lasted for just an hour. The other was this seed, which floated out from the center of my forehead." Upon hearing this, Heshi couldn't help but reach out and touch Nangongyu's forehead, thinking to herself, if a seed floated out when he was born, would a sprout grow from it in the future? Noticing the amusement in Heshi's eyes, Nangongyu grasped her hand with a hint of exasperation. This was the reason that Nangongyu never wanted to say anything about it. A seed growing from his forehead was just too bizarre. "I once tried planting this seed, but it never showed any signs of growth. Sometimes I even wonder if it's not really a seed, but some kind of gemstone or something." Heshi smiled at him and asked, "Did you bring out the seed to give it to me?" Nangongyu leaned down to give her a gentle kiss and said matter-of-factly, "This seed grew from within me, so it's naturally a part of my body. Heshi, all of me belongs to you. How could I not give you a part of myself?" Heshi blushed. She playfully pushed him away. This guy is becoming so bold with his words. She carefully put the seed into the void, then stood up and took Nangongyu's hand, saying, "Come with me." He queried, Heshi turned back with a mysterious smile on her face, "I also have something for you." He leaned in, sniffing the seed once and then again. Suddenly, he sneezed. The creature, previously in its pink piggy form, instantly reverted to its original round shape. Little Egg was stunned for a long time before he swung the antennae on his head and transformed himself back into a piglet. He picked up the seed, examining it over and over. But this time, he couldn't find any clues. Bored, he pouted and put the seed back. Inside the treasure box, a faint purplish pattern momentarily flashed on the greenish seed surface, then vanished without a trace. Chapter 1617. Dowry. Heshi took Nangongyu to the control room of Sealed Dragon Domain. Looking up, the huge sealed dragon sword hanging high above came into view. Heshi waved her hand. Golden patterns slowly emerged on the crystal ceiling above the control room, and then slowly moved in 2 directions. As the crystal ceiling disappeared, the majestic dragon aura from the sealed dragon sword rushed toward their faces, causing the entire sealed dragon realm to gently tremble due to the unsealing. The spiritual energy in the Greedwood domain and Waterwood domain became even richer, the vegetation thrived more, and the magical beast of the desert domain and ice snow domain also became more active and excited. As the seal of the sealed dragon sword was dispelled, the sealed dragon domain had awoken and revived for the second time. "Master, you are finally going to take away the sealed dragon sword." Little Golden Dragon jumped out of the void and looked at Heshi excitedly. Heshi waved her hand gently. The huge sealed dragon sword hanging above let out a dragon roar, shrank suddenly, drew an arc in the air, and flew into Heshi's hand. Sealed dragon sword had seemingly sealed the power of an ancient dragon. Its attack could split mountains and fill the seas, one strike was enough to make the world tremble. Sealed dragon sword. Ah, I haven't felt the aura of the sealed dragon sword for a long time. I miss it so much. The little golden dragon danced and hovered excitedly in the sky, taking deep breaths and inhaling the remaining dragon energy in the air into its mouth. However, Heshi held the sword in both hands and presented it to Nangongyu. "I shall give this to you. Consider it my dowry." Nangongyu looked at her blankly, his lips moving as if he wanted to say something. But in the end, he said nothing and reached out to take the sealed dragon sword. She said that she was lucky to know him. Actually, it was really the other way around. Getting to know Shiyu was the greatest fortune for Nangongyu. Little Golden Dragon pouted in displeasure, but he had already guessed that Hushi would give the sealed dragon sword to Nangongyu. Although he was unhappy, he didn't say anything. It's the sealed dragon sword. Even in the Siam continent, it's a rare magic weapon. Nangongyu is so lucky. Because of the dragon aura, the people sleeping in the sealed dragon domain woke up and rushed over here. Hushi smiled and said, "Your Highness King of Hell, it's getting late. Please go back quickly." She paused, her face slightly red, her voice gentle and soft. "Silly, in just a few more days, we can be together every moment. There's no need to be anxious since it's only a couple of days away." Before she could finish her words, Nangongyu suddenly reached out, hugged her, and kissed her deeply again. It wasn't until the worried voices of Gu Lufeng and others came from the control room did Nangongyu let go of her. His figure slowly blended into the darkness, becoming invisible, phasing through the array, and vanished. "Sheer, wait for me. And, I love you." Hushi gently exhaled, her eyes filled with a faint touch of melancholy. She had just told Nangongyu not to be anxious, but as soon as they parted, she suddenly felt an unwillingness to let go of him and a sense of sorrow for parting. Even 5 days seem really long. In the magical beast forest, Shaoli had been training very hard after Hushi left, but she had been feeling down. Holding her hand, Liu walked through the forest. She pointed out and introduced peculiar plants and animals, chattering away to make her happy. Wu Qi, who had recovered, followed quietly behind the two of them. His downcast eyes hid the guilt within. Wu Qi knew that Shaoli left the lady and stayed in the magical beast forest because of him. That was because he could only heal his injuries in the magical beast forest. And for Shiyu, the master he swore loyalty to, Wu Qi had thought of a plan. After avenging himself, he would faithfully stay by her side for 100 years. This would be to repay her for saving his life and taking care of Shaoli. Chapter 16-18. Someone's here. However, before Wu Qi could repay that kindness, he owed Shiyu more favor. He couldn't even count how many times Shiyu had saved his life and wondered how he could ever repay her. However, even if he wanted to repay her then, with his limited strength, he would have only caused trouble for Shiyu. Wu Qi's eyes flashed with persistence, just like another reason why Shaoli chose to stay in the magical beast forest. He too must become stronger to repay Shiyu's kindness one day. Liu gently stroked the two ears that Shaoli didn't bother to hide, softly saying, "Miss Li, please don't be unhappy anymore." The king sent a message saying he would return from the Siam continent in a few days. When he's back, he will take you to Jinling Kingdom to visit Miss Shiyu. Shaoli was the only disciple of Beastkin King Ranyi, so to other Beastkin, Shaoli was like the princess of their lineage. She would become the queen of this lineage in the future. That was why Liu addressed Shaoli as Mississippi. Really? Hearing this, Shaoli's eyes lit up entirely. "Is the king really willing to take me to see Miss?" "What?" Shaoli jumped up in surprise, her whole tiny face flushing red in anxiety. "Why didn't you say this earlier? How could I not attend Miss's wedding?" "No, I have to go back and prepare right away." "Oh right, I have to choose lots and lots of gifts for Miss and my future brother-in-law." Liu was amused by her reaction. In the past few days, Shaoli had been looking solemn and focused on cultivation. She didn't look like a young girl at all. But at this time, she was flustered, but she finally looked more like a youth. She smiled and said, "Miss Shaoli, don't worry. The king had told us that he would return to the magic beast forest in the early morning of September 9th. At that time, he will tear the fabric of space and take Miss Shaoli to the wedding. There's no need to fret. Just focus on preparing your gifts in the next few days." Hearing this, Shaoli finally relaxed. Her beautiful eyes gently curved, filled with joy and anticipation. "I can't wait to see Miss soon." Before she could finish her words, Wu Qi's face suddenly changed, and he said in a deep voice, "Someone's here." The expressions of the three beastkin changed instantly as their smiles faded. Shaoli led Liu and Wu Qi to hide behind a bush. With a wave of his hand, a ray of silver light fell on them. Immediately after, the three of them seemed to have vanished, blending into the bush. This was an illusion technique that the nine-tailed silver fox could use after reaching a certain cultivation level. Even if the opponent's cultivation was 2 or 3 levels higher than Shaoli's, they might not necessarily detect it. In the dense, deep woods, several figures slowly emerged. Leading them was Lu Yunhai, the third elder of the Lu family. He glanced at an old man beside him, who had a respectful and fawning expression, and said impatiently, "Is this the place you spoke about?" The old man was the Feng family's patriarch, Venerable Mu Hua. Ever since he was injured by the Beastkin King Ran-yi, his internal injuries had not healed. Although he had taken medicine, his cultivation had greatly decreased, now merely at the early stage of nascent soul. Chapter 1619, Worry. He coughed lightly and said, "Further ahead is the Toad Jade Palace, where many beastkins dwell. I found traces of that thing near Toad Jade Palace back in the day. So if it ever appeared before, it must not be far from here." Cough, cough, cough. Just as Lu Yunhai was about to speak, suddenly, a few women in white dresses and veils gracefully walked over from not far away. Lu Wushuang pays her respects to third uncle. The woman in white clothes bowed gracefully to Lu Yunhai, her voice sweet like a melodious oriole coming out of a valley. Lu Yunhai snorted coldly, frowned, and said, "You're still wearing white clothes when we enter the forest. Are you looking for trouble?" Lu Yunhai's eyebrows raised in anger. "Look at what you have done. The Beastkin King here is a divine beast that has advanced to rank 12. If you anger it and make things worse, how are you going to explain to your father?" "Don't worry, third uncle." Lu Wushuang gently stroked her clothes, which glistened like mercury even in the dim light of the forest, and chuckled. "Wushuang has already learned that Beastkin King Ran-yi is in Siam continent to consolidate his cultivation. In the magical beast forest, the strongest being here is nothing more than a rank 9 monster. They are just a bunch of useless beasts. Why should we be scared? With my humble abilities, I have already set up a crimson voodoo array around the magical beast forest. If the beastkins make no move, we will naturally leave each other be. But if they want to ruin our plans or rush out of the magic beast forest, haha, I guarantee they will die miserably." Upon hearing this, the anger on Lu Yunhai's face finally subsided, and the look he gave Lu Wushuang softened considerably. His niece was exceptionally talented and intelligent, definitely at the top of the Lu family. It was just that her temperament had been too domineering and stubborn, especially emotionally. She would not back down, even if she hit a wall. It had truly been a pity. Behind the bushes, Xiao Li and Liu looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. Each of these individuals had high cultivation levels, with Lu Yunhai being the strongest, causing an instinctual fear to rise in the hearts of the 3 beastkins. It took immense willpower for them to control their trembling and avoid being discovered. Lu Yunhai walked around the area, releasing his divine sense in a wide range. Suddenly, his eyes focused. A hint of excitement flashed. "There, I feel a strong life force. It should be there." Seeing the direction Lu Yunhai and others were heading, Liu suddenly turned deathly pale, unable to control her trembling body. Fortunately, Lu Yunhai was in a hurry to find clues, so he didn't notice Liu. After they walked away, Liu said in a trembling voice, "That's where Miss Xiu treated Nangong Yu's injuries. I know what they are looking for, would source." Xiao Li gritted her teeth and said, her face turning pale. However, her eyes were firm. "You and Wu Qi stay here. I'll follow them and take a look." "Miss Xiao Li, no." Xiao Li looked at the two, a flash of resolve in her eyes. Suddenly, she took out a few medicine bottles and handed them to Wu Qi and Liu. "Later, I will pass on the information I hear to you through the insects. Both of you, head to the edge of the demon beast forest now." Chapter 1620, Footage. If I'm caught later, you must leave the magical beast forest and pass the news to Mississippi. "Miss Li, you can't do that." Liu was so anxious that she almost cried. "The king said that nothing can happen to you. How can we let you take such a risk?" Xiao Li shook her head resolutely, her voice heavy. "If something happens to Miss, what's the point of me staying here, desperately training to become stronger? Liu, brother, I'm begging you, you must pass the message to Mississippi. That woman mentioned the Crimson Voodoo Array. I've heard Miss talk about it before. But when it comes to using poison, no one can compare to Mississippi. So take these medicines. If you're stopped, just scatter them. Liu, can you promise me?" Looking at the little girl's firm and calm eyes, Liu couldn't utter a word of refusal. The words stuck in her throat. Her eyes gradually turned red, but in the end, she nodded. With a shimmer, she transformed into her original form. "You Min Bird, Miss Xiao Li, you must be careful. You must stay alive." Tears suddenly welled up in Xiao Li's eyes as she choked out, brother, you also have to promise, you absolutely must not let anything happen. The three beaskins parted ways. Xiaoli hid her figure and followed them quietly. At her feet, countless black insects and ants lined up in a long line, following behind her. Yet in the forest, the movement of insects and ants was a common occurrence, and no one paid any attention to these tiny creatures. When she arrived at the hidden cave entrance, Xiaoli continued to hide behind a bush. At this moment, the people inside the cave were already full of surprise and excitement. Because in this cave, they had finally found it, the rich essence of wood source, so strong that there was no need to search specifically to feel it. Lu Yunhai looked at Feng Yunzhao, who nodded and sat down cross-legged on the ground. Something similar to a compass appeared in front of him, with a red pointer swaying gently. As Feng Yunzhao gestured in the air, a series of unique air flows began to swirl around him. And the red pointer shifted from a slight wobble to a violent swing. The expressions of everyone around him changed slightly. Even Lu Yunhai looked at Feng Yunzhao with eyes filled with wonder. Because they felt that the flow of time was constantly changing, sometimes faster and sometimes slower, as if the fabric of time and space were controlled by this young man. Suddenly, Feng Yunzhao's hands, which were forming seals, thrust out abruptly. His tightly closed eyes flung open. Seeing this, everyone from the Lu family jumped in fright because only the whites of Feng Yunzhao's eyes were visible, with no sight of the black pupils. Odd patterns shimmered on the whites of his eyes. The next moment, in the direction of Feng Yunzhao's finger, a hole seemed to be torn open in the air. Then, footage unfolded before him. There was an exceptionally handsome young man, his hand placed on the back of the person before him, at the area of the dantian. The green light, symbolizing life, circulated like a vortex, emitting a strong aura of life. Shi Yu! Feng family's patriarch and Lu Wushuang exclaimed when they saw the young man. Chapter 1621, Who's There? However, Feng Yunzhao finally couldn't hold on to the technique anymore and spurted out a mouthful of blood. The compass needle stopped shaking. The footage before him disappeared without a trace. There was a moment of silence in the cave. After a long while, Lu Wushuang took a sharp breath. Her face, half covered by a white veil, twisted crazily, as if in excitement, and yet seemingly in deep resentment and jealousy. It turns out to be Shi Yu, the lowly woman Nangong Yu is going to marry. Shi Yu. Ha ha ha, I originally wanted to spare her for the time being, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to take the wood source and her life. Feng family's patriarch's expression also changed, becoming increasingly fierce and grim. It turns out that the person who possesses the wood source is Shi Yu. No wonder her cultivation has improved so quickly and her luck is so good. Legend has it that the person who has the wood source is destined to be blessed. Naturally, she will receive many more opportunities and blessings than ordinary people. Lu Yunhai was thrilled. He knew far more about the wood source than Lu Wushuang and the patriarch of the Feng family. He was aware of what kind of benefits awaited the Lu family if they seized the wood source. The Lu family would surely have a brilliant future ahead. Originally, the Feng family patriarch only brought a piece of uncertain news. However, the actual wood source was right before them. Moreover, it was within reach. The party was excited about their discovery. Just as he was about to speak, Lu Yunhai's expression suddenly changed. He shouted sharply towards the entrance of the cave, "Who's there? Show yourself." Xiaoli, who was hiding in the darkness, was startled and thought she had been discovered. Upon seeing the newcomer, Lu Yunhai's eyebrows immediately furrowed deeply, and his expression darkened as he said, "Silver Fox, how come you are here?" The person who appeared was Silver Fox, who wore a mask. Naturally, there was also Lu Shuyang, who had led the way. Hearing this, Silver Fox laughed and said, "Elder Lu, you must be joking. Our Green Vine clan has always traveled between Siam and Miluo. Isn't it normal to appear here? Moreover, some time ago, someone harmed the Golden Wolf of the Green Vine clan. He was injured, and parts of his soul went missing. I am here, naturally following the orders of my superior, to investigate the matter of the Golden Wolf being harmed. As for Elder Lu, I remember that apart from Miss Lu, no one from the Lu family ever sets foot on the Miluo continent. I wonder, what brings Elder Lu to this desolate place all of a sudden?" Lu Yunhai's expression changed uncertainly. As his gaze fixed firmly on Silver Fox, he said coldly, "We, the Lu family, and your Green Vine clan have always stayed out of each other's business. Today, we have important matters to attend to here." May I request Silver Fox to please make things easy and leave quickly? Lu Yunhai was unsure if Silver Fox witnessed Feng Yunjiao's technique of rewinding the fabric of time and space. It was also his miscalculation. He thought that this vast boundless monster forest made it impossible for anyone to find this place. So, he only guarded against beasts, not thinking to guard against people at all. In particular, Silver Fox's cultivation level had reached the void darkness stage like him. Current cultivation levels: Foundation Establishment Stage, Meridian Stage, Gold Core Stage, Nascent Soul Stage, Soul Splitting Stage, Void Darkness Stage. If he wasn't vigilant with his surroundings, he couldn't find any trace of Silver Fox at all. However, Silver Fox bursts into laughter. What an unfortunate coincidence. I have watched the footage where that boy had incarnated just now. It was Shiyu, right? By coincidence, our Green Vine clan is also here for Shiyu this time. Chapter 1622. Cooperate. Lu Yunhai's face instantly turned frightfully dark as he said ominously, Silver Fox, are you thinking of snatching that person away from our Lu family? However, Silver Fox's expression suddenly turned cold as well, as he scoffed, how can you say that? We have already found out that Shiyu is the one who hurt the Golden Wolf. Our Lord has issued an order to capture Shiyu and take her back to the upper realm for the Lord to deal with personally. Elder Lu, you don't need to make things complicated. Silver Fox waved his hand in midair. A weapon resembling a crescent moon appeared in his hand, emitting a bright white light in the cave. Haha, Elder Lu dares to disregard the reputation of my Green Vine clan. Let's see who will be the final winner in the end. A tremendous momentum suddenly surged in the cave, as the long sword and crescent blade met in the air, clashing together. Boom, a loud noise erupted. The entire cave, including half of the mountain, collapsed. The ground of the magical beast forest was shaking madly, whipping up flying sand and rocks, with violent winds howling. After the first clash, Lu Yunhai and Silver Fox were separated, standing far apart on either side. Both eyes held a deep wariness of each other. Staying far to the side, Lu Shuyang suddenly stepped forward, bowing to Silver Fox, saying, Sir Silver Fox, Elder Lu, since we share the same target, instead of fighting to the death and letting others benefit, why not sit down and discuss how we can cooperate? Otherwise, after you both fight, others may end up reaping the rewards. Silver Fox looked at him sideways and said coldly, what do you mean by this? A sly smile flashed in Lu Shuyang's eyes. Suddenly, his figure flickered, darting to the hidden little fox's side. He grabbed the little fox by the neck and held it aloft. It's a nine-tailed silver fox. Lu Yunhai and Silver Fox exclaimed simultaneously. The two masters in the Void Darkness stage failed to notice a fox hiding nearby. If the fox beast skin spread the word about the wood source, the consequences would be really unimaginable. Let me go, you bad person. Let me go. The little fox struggled desperately, but couldn't break free from Lu Shuyang's grasp. Instead, as soon as she struggled, she felt her beastkin power flow to Lu Shuyang, making her dare not move again. The pride in Lu Shuyang's eyes flashed. He could discover Shaoli because he had once completely devoured the life force of a beastkin and was sensitive to a beastkin's presence. Silver Fox grabbed Shaoli. As his spiritual power came into contact with the little fox, his expression changed slightly. It's Ran Yi's aura. An immense protective aura of a cub. Who are you to beastkin Ran Yi? Shaoli twisted her neck and said, let me go. If you dare to hurt me, my master will never let you go. Silver Fox looked up at Lu Yunhai and said slowly, Elder Lu, what do you say? Lu Yunhai looked at Shaoli. His expression changed rapidly, and he didn't speak for a long time. Lu Wushuang had gracefully walked forward, winked at Silver Fox, and said to Lu Yunhai, Third uncle, why not cooperate with the Green Vine clan instead of having both sides suffer a loss? All matters of profit distribution could be discussed after we obtain the wood source. Chapter 1623. Chase. After all, the Green Vine clan was a robust clan. If both sides went to war, it would definitely attract the attention of others. It would become much more unpredictable who would end up with the wood source in their possession. Lu Yunhai slowly exhaled and said, Fine, for the wood source, my Lu family will cooperate with your Green Vine clan. The most important thing now was to get the wood source first. As for who got to keep the wood source, it would all depend on their own abilities in the competition. Third uncle, what should we do with this little fox? Lu Wushuang looked at Xiao Li's delicate face and chuckled, why don't you give it to me and put her at my disposal? Silver Fox narrowed his eyes and said, Miss Lu, it's best to not have this idea. The Winged Dragon clan is a vengeful beastkin. If Ranni finds out that you killed his precious disciple, the entire Siam continent's beastkin clan will hunt down the Lu family crazily. Ranni alone was not scary. What was truly frightening was the clan of divine beasts behind him. If this little fox was just an ordinary beastkin, they could kill it. However, that option wasn't feasible now. Lu Yunhai did not object either. He tossed the little fox, who was bound by the golden silk to a subordinate of the Lu family. Keep a close watch on it. Don't let it escape until the matter is settled. Since they had reached a temporary truce, both sides sat down in the cave to discuss their next steps. 3 days from now is the wedding of Nangongyu and Shiyu. We'll strike at that time. Silver Fox said solemnly. Lu Wushuang was puzzled and growing impatient. Since we've already confirmed Shiyu's identity, why not act immediately? The longer we let that wretched person enjoy herself, the more intense my jealousy burns. Silver Fox sneered. Didn't you know that immortal Xianqing is Shiyu's master and is still by her side? Lu Yunhai and others were all shocked. They wouldn't have a chance if immortal Xianqing were here. On the other hand, Silver Fox wore a smug smile. Don't worry, everyone. Our Lord has already taken care of this matter. In just a couple of days, Xianqing will return to the Siam continent and won't be able to come back for a while. Everyone in the Lu family was immediately overjoyed and began to discuss how to kidnap Shiyu quickly and covertly. Those people engaged in conversation failed to notice that at the bound feet of the little fox, numerous insects and ants were swiftly crawling toward the outside of the cave as if they were racing against the clock. The well-thought-out plan was finally set. Lu Wushuang revealed a sinister and crazed smile. On their wedding day, Nangongyu and Shiyu will surely be very happy, very blissful, won't they? I wonder how their happiness and sweetness will be shattered in that moment, plunging them into the depths of hell and into such misery and despair. Ha ha ha. I can't wait to see that day arrive. Suddenly, Lu Wushuang's laughter came to an abrupt halt. With anger in her eyes, she screamed, No, a beastkin has broken through my crimson voodoo array. Everyone's expressions were grim, and they all looked at Xiaoli. Xiaoli was filled with a fearless expression as she sneered, You wicked and shameless bunch, your plot will never succeed. Lu Shuyang frowned and said, I remembered that this little fox is Shiyu's spiritual pet. She must have sent the message to inform Shiyu and Nangongyu. Lu Yunhai's face darkened. He said in frustration, Chase them right away. We must kill those 2 beastkins, and we can't let them relay the message. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.